Hello, everyone. My name is Call, and I am a somatic therapist as well as an astrological counselor. If you'd like to find out a little bit more about the work I do, you can check out my website posted down below the video. Also, down below the video is vaultoftheheavens.com, which is where you can go to find out your specific nakshatras. Now, what you want to look at is you want to look at your ascendant, your moon, and your sun, probably with the moon being most important. So, what I'm covering today is Pushya Nakshatra. Um, Pushya is, this is one of those nakshatras that tends to get a lot of like descriptors as being like, really generous and I guess magnanimous in a lot of ways. And, it's one of these very fortunate placements. However, it's interesting. I guess it's fortunate in some regards, but it also has a lot of Saturn energy playing out here, which I'll kind of go into in a moment, and how the Saturn energy is something that these folks are going to have to watch out for. So first off, Pushya is within Cancer, so meaning the energy here is that of the moon. The moon is at play. And I mentioned already the specific nakshatra is ruled by Saturn. Now, how did I come to that conclusion? Other than finding in a book. I came to that conclusion because of the gunas, which are the fundamental energies that sort of underline all creation. So it's Rajasic at its base, and Rajasic energy is that of proactive, positive, positive moving. I don't mean positive good, I mean action is what I mean. So on a secondary level, though, it's Sattvic, meaning these individuals are cultivating the neutral mind or discernment. So they're working through a neutral mind, which is really helpful for these folks because on the tertiary level, or what's expressed outwardly, is tamasic. And sometimes people tend to associate tamasic with bad. It just means density. It means material. It means density. You could say the negative mind, protective. So when you get a lot of energy that deals with the negative mind or protective energy, what you have is fear. So in Saturn, which rules this nakshatra, fear is a component here. It could be a fear of not having something. It could be a fear of not understanding something. It could be just like this deep fear of not having enough. Fear can play out in many, many ways. So fear is going to be a component in these folks' life. And it doesn't, like I said, fear is not a bad thing. It's actually an evolutionary tool. Pain, fear, and suffering are in a lot of ways what helps evolve humanity, for better or worse. So now these energies and how they all intertwine is pretty fascinating in a lot of ways. I guess with Pushya, it all seems to kind of work nicely in some ways. So when you have the moon and Saturn, what you have is these folks who want to, the term here is nourish. The cow, the cow's udders are the symbol for Pushya. And again, because it's always giving, it's nourishing those around them, it's nourishing themselves, but it's primarily about those around them. Again, it's ruled by Saturn. Now, Saturn has an interesting influence in a lot of ways, it's a bit like gravity. Like every human being wants to sort of, on some deep, 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 deep level, wants to escape this physical reality. We want to merge back with Source, but we're sort of limited by gravity and this energy that keeps us in our form. So Saturn is a bit like that. And these folks have a lot of Saturn. So what you see here is I would imagine, which is kind of a deep, maybe I won't say introverted because it's not really. It's a deep sort of emotional energy here. These folks are very much about the past. It's very much about the home. It's very much about nurturing. And again, Saturn adds this level of practical expression. So these folks are about get it done. Get it done. Take care of the people around them. They could be very selfless, but they also could be very greedy. There's a possibility of greed here. And what I mean by that is, I shouldn't say greed. Greed is not the right term. Holding on to things. Right? So they could hold on to their emotions. They could hold on to their money. They could hold on to a number of things. So being generous with Pushya, if you're a Pushya native, is really important. It's a bit like karma. If you give, you'll receive in some way, you know. So now we're going to look at the other energies here, which are the padas. Now the padas add sort of a nuance to this sort of energy salad. The nuances here are, in the first pada, we have the sun. So with Pushya natives, again, keeping in mind that all 4 padas are energies that are at play always for Pushya natives. They may have an emphasis based on which pada you were born into. So if you were born in pada 1, then the sun is what's ruling this. So pada 1 being ruled by the sun means that these Pushya natives, who are already, I guess you could say that, again, they're sort of all about nourishing and taking care of things. But with pada 1, you're going to have an extra expression. So to me, it would be kind of like all of a sudden these people are become like preachers. They're much bigger energy here, very, very expressive energy. You could see a bit more of their personality coming out with this particular placement. And that's the energy of the sun. You can think about this when you see sun, just interchange Leo. And, Leo is magnanimous. It's big personality, big energy, wants to be the center of attention. So mix that in with the moon and mix that in with, Saturn. And there you go. You've got this sort of big personality that also wants to take care of people. Mercury, second pada. You're going to add some intelligence here. So there's a layer of intelligence. Now, if you're born in the second pada, you're just going to be a little bit quicker. You're going to have a very quick mind. Again, it's sort of intelligence. But the word I circled here says service. Why service? Keeping in mind that Mercury rules 2 signs. And how all these padas work is that the padas are basically the progression of the zodiac. So what we got here is we have Leo, Virgo, Venus, which is the third pada, which would be Libra. And then we have Mars at the 4th pada, which is Scorpio. Now, these are the Vedic placements. So if you're a Western astrology person, you're not going to associate, not going to associate Scorpio with Mars, but that's the energy. It is, traditionally speaking, ruled by Mars. So again, with Mercury in the second pada, we're looking at service because it's Virgo. So Virgo is a humbling placement. So second pada being ruled by service, what basically means these folks are humbled. They're humbled because, Virgo following Leo, it's about this movement from oneself, which is Leo, to the other, which is Libra. So Virgo is in the middle. It's in this kind of transformational zone between self and other. So that's why service. Now, the third pada, Venus. Now we're not talking about Taurus Venus, we're talking about Libra Venus. So it says luxury. So earthly desires and luxury. Luxury, I think, is one of the sort of cliche words that tends to describe Libra in general. A lot of Libras I know are kind of hedonists. I don't mean that in a bad way. I love Libra. But this energy is very much about social. So it's about social, connecting with other people, creating relationships. And I don't mean romantic relationships. I simply mean connection. So it's about connections here. Luxury, again, keeping in mind that there's so much moon energy with this placement. You could say luxury in terms of their home. Again, because the moon's associated with the home. And again, they're also very much looking at the material world because they have that Saturnian energy that's forcing them to look outside themselves. The fourth pada here, we have ruled by, my shoulder's probably blocking it, Mars I put underneath Mars, earthly action, and then I circled esoteric, if you can read that. So why esoteric? Well, because we're talking about Scorpio here. Scorpio is about power. But it's not power like kind of greedy, I want to dominate things kind of power. I mean, it can be, but that's not what this means. This means symbols of transformation. Power in regards to something that gives you spiritual power, something that helps develop yourself. So esoteric, I would, the reason I keep finding that I found this word associated with Pushya in the fourth pada, I believe esoteric is because some of those things that bring about transformational power in one's life could be, sex is very transformative. Yoga, qigong, tai chi, any of the solar, like occult arts. So, again, symbols of transformation here. So anything that's going to spiritually evolve you, you're going to see in that fourth pada. So again, wrapping this all together, how does it look? So Pushya, the nourisher, because it's about the moon, it's about one's emotional needs. You mix that with a strong external focus, which is also spiritualizing. These folks are challenged to move past fear. So they move through fear with bravery. The sun is what gives them that courage. This is very courageous energy, very expressive energy, very intelligent, Mercury. And, once again, they're focused on those sort of obtaining earthly things. So you could see these people being very abundant in what they achieve in their life. And then finally, a strong tendency, because of that sort of Mars scorpionic energy in the fourth pada, a strong tendency towards spiritual progression. So with all that said, hopefully you kind of understand Pushya Nakshatra a little bit better now. Thank you for watching this video.